Picture an Ice Age evening. The hunt is over, the meat is smoking, the fire is crackling, and nobody is currently being eaten. Huge win. A few people are fixing tools. A kid is asking the same question for the 9th time. Someone is staring into the flames like their brain just left the group chat. And that raises a weirdly modern question. Did ancient humans get bored? Because if they did, this is not just a cute little thought experiment. It changes how we picture prehistory. We usually imagine ancient people in one of two ridiculous ways, either as miserable survival robots or as magical forest geniuses who felt spiritually complete while collecting berries. Real life was probably neither. It was danger, work, waiting, weather, repetition, social drama, and long stretches of ordinary time. Which means boredom may not be some modern bug in the human brain. It may be one of the engines that helped build human culture. Now, we should be careful. We cannot know exactly what a person felt 40,000 years ago. Archaeologists can find a fireplace, a bone needle, a painted cave, and a pile of shells. They cannot dig up a fossilized sigh. Tragic, honestly, but we do know what kind of brains ancient humans had. We know a lot about the tasks they did, and we know something about boredom itself. In simple terms, boredom is what happens when your attention wants something meaningful, but the moment in front of you is not giving it anything good. And that feeling is not just laziness. Psychologists usually treat boredom as a signal. Your brain is basically saying, this is not enough. Do something else. Sometimes that pushes you toward terrible decisions. Sometimes it pushes you toward exploration, play, creativity, or conversation. And if that mental system exists in humans today, it almost certainly did not suddenly appear when somebody invented office meetings. It is probably much older than that. Here is the first thing most people miss. Ancient life was not a nonstop action movie. It was not mammoth chase, wolf attack, thunderstorm, repeat. Studies of recent hunter-gatherer groups suggest that in some places and seasons, getting food did not take every waking minute. There was still work to do, obviously, a lot of it, but there was also time for tool repair, childcare, visiting, joking, resting, and just being around other people. Not an easy life, just not constant crisis. And even hard lives contain a shocking amount of waiting. Waiting for animals to appear, waiting for the weather to change, waiting for fish, traps, roots to roast, hides to dry, and children to stop licking things they absolutely should not lick. Hunting especially can involve sudden bursts of action, surrounded by long stretches of silence. If you have ever gone fishing with someone who promised it would be exciting, you already understand the basic structure. Human survival often included a lot of standing, watching, and doing the same thing again. Think about repetitive work, scraping a hide smooth with a stone tool, shaping another spear point, carrying water, untangling fibers, keeping a fire alive through the night. Later, in farming societies, grinding grain for ages. Useful, necessary, deeply unglamorous work. The kind of work where a human brain starts looking around for stimulation like a raccoon near an unlocked trash can. A song helps, a joke helps, a story helps, a better tool helps. Suddenly, boredom is not just a feeling, it is pressure looking for an outlet. And this is where fire matters in a bigger way. Fire did not just cook food and keep predators back. It extended the day. It created evening. Once people could sit together after dark with light, warmth, and at least some safety, human social life had room to stretch out. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner, who studied the Juhon Sea in southern Africa, found that daytime talk often focused on practical things like work and planning. But after dark, around the fire, conversation changed. More stories, more jokes, more singing, more ritual, more gossip, which is basically ancient social media with worse lighting. That does not prove an Ice Age person sat there saying, "I am bored, tell the mammoth story again." But it does show something important. Human evenings are not empty by default. Give people fire, company, and a few hours, and they start filling that space with stories, performance, memory, teasing, and myth. In other words, with culture. The fire was not just a heater, it was a content platform. Then there is the archaeological evidence for time spent on things beyond immediate survival. Humans were using red pigment, making beads from shells and teeth, engraving patterns, and eventually painting cave walls tens of thousands of years ago. We also have very old flutes made from bone and ivory. These objects mattered for identity, ritual, group bonding, and beauty. They were not pointless doodles, but they also took time. Walking deep into a cave with torch smoke in your face to paint animals on a wall is not what a species does if every spare minute is pure emergency. The same goes for play. Human children have long childhoods compared with other animals, and play is a huge part of how they learn. They copy adult skills, test rules, build friendships, and invent little worlds. We even have traces of children in prehistoric places, like footprints and finger marks in caves. Some of those marks may have had ritual meaning. Some may have been teaching moments. Some may have been kids doing what kids have always done, which is touch everything and turn empty space into a game within 30 seconds. Boredom and play are close relatives. There is also a strong argument that boredom helped with tinkering, not because somebody hated their life and invented art out of despair, but because restless brains experiment. If your spear works, but not perfectly, you change the point. If your carrying strap digs into your shoulder, you try a different knot. If the camp sits still for too long, somebody wanders, explores, and notices a better stone source, a new path, or a strange plant. Curiosity and boredom are not the same thing, but they often travel together like two cousins who keep giving humanity side quests. Social life matters here too. Ancient humans lived in groups, and groups are full of downtime conversations. Teasing, flirting, gossip, story sharing, complaints, alliances, apologies, bragging, warnings. All of that is useful. Gossip sounds petty until you remember that knowing who trusts whom, who shares food, who cheats, and who can actually make a decent spear may be the difference between safety and disaster. Boredom does not just make humans seek activity, it often makes us seek each other. But there is a real complication. Some experts would say we should not confidently push a modern emotion word deep into the past. Fair point. Modern boredom can mean a very specific kind of emptiness tied to clocks, fixed schedules, lonely apartment walls, and the strange mental damage of watching 17 short videos in a row while feeling absolutely nothing. Ancient boredom was probably not that. It may have been less like numb scrolling and more like restlessness during repetitive work, irritation during waiting, or a strong urge to do, make, hear, or say something. There is another complication. Prehistoric people were not all the same. A coastal group in a rich environment, a small band crossing harsh frozen land, and a later farming village would not have had the same daily rhythm. Some lives were brutally hard. Some seasons were lean and dangerous. Some people may have had very little room for boredom because hunger and fear kept the mind busy. But stress and boredom can exist at the same time. Ask soldiers, sailors, drivers, nurses, or anyone who has ever had a high-stakes job with long, dull stretches between moments of chaos. So, did ancient humans get bored? The best answer is probably yes, in forms we would recognize, not all the time, and not in exactly the same way we do, but yes. They likely felt restless while waiting, tired of repeated tasks, and hungry for novelty during long social hours or seasonal downtime. The difference is that their boredom was often answered by people, tools, stories, music, movement, ritual, exploration, and craft. The same feeling that can send a modern person into a doom scroll probably sent an ancient person toward a song, a joke, a carved bead, or a better spear. And that may be the most interesting part. Boredom was not just a problem ancient humans had to survive. It may have been one of the quiet pressures that made culture grow. When the day's urgent tasks were done, the human brain did not simply power down like a laptop on 3% battery. It wandered, it played, it remembered, it invented trouble and then solved it. So the next time you imagine ancient humans around a fire, do not picture blank-faced survival machines waiting for history to begin. Picture people like us, only colder, smokier, and much better at making a knife from a rock. Some of them were tired, some were worried, some were entertained, and at least one of them was almost certainly staring into the flames, getting a little restless, and deciding to make something.